All right, everyone, welcome to the stream. I think we're live. If I could get confirmation in the chat that you guys can see us, that would be fantastic. Just reloading on my, yep, I think we are live. Hi guys, how are you doing? Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Well,
Yeah, so I'm so guys, I am so excited. This is probably the most excited I've been for any live stream so far because anyone who's followed my channel knows that I am really following what's going on with Hare Whitmer. Oh, Zoom has already turned off my. You can still hear me. Hang on, I'm coming right back. Okay, I've been following what's going on in Michigan with an attentive eye because I just think the whole thing is fascinating and was following the American Patriot Rally that Brandon Strzok from Walkaway was at. It was this past weekend? Was that when it was? Last Thursday. And I was so excited that I was able to get in touch with the two of the organizers of that rally. And so today we're going to have a discussion with them. I have questions that have already been sent in from viewers. And really, I just want to hear your perspective about why you organized the rally, what you were hoping to get out of it, and have a long form conversation about it rather than the media taking whatever sound bites they want to take at any given moment. So I wonder if we could just start off. Can the two of you introduce yourself, and maybe we'll start off with Ryan and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're about.
Thanks, Carlin. Appreciate you having us here. My name is Ryan Kelly. I live in West Michigan. I'm a real estate broker out here, married. I got 4 kids, 1 on the way, due next month. So love spending some time with my kids. Relatively active in the community around West Michigan, and this whole COVID-19 pandemic progression has got very weird in Michigan and other places around the country and has shifted into more of a government overreach. Jason and I, about a week or so into all of the pandemic announcements, started putting things together in our head about what was really going on. And that led into, as things progressed with our governor here in Michigan, overstepping constitutional rights in a lot of ways, to a formation of a team that put together the American Patriot Rally, which was a huge, massive success last week.
All right, fantastic. And we'll talk more about that success. But Jason, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Jason Howland. I am a sales systems developer and trainer. I train salespeople for companies to help them scale. I'm not a political activist typically. I mean, I stay informed and stay involved, but for the most part, just watching my clients struggle through this got me thinking. And when Ryan, I think, called me one morning, I happened to be at a client's office and he goes, "What do you think of all this?" And from that what do you think all this question, we kind of rolled into a huge rally and becoming like this team of really awesome individuals that have done some really cool stuff and continue to.
Fantastic. Well, Ryan, you just said a second ago that the American Patriot Rally was a massive success by your standards. So fill us up, bring us up to speed here. What happened on Thursday that made it a massive success? And yeah, let's hear it.
Without getting into too many of the technical details, our governor here in Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, issued a state of emergency at the beginning of this. That's when the stay-at-home orders rolled out. She's allowed a certain amount of time to issue the state of emergency. And then after that expiration, she needs the House to extend it for her, the legislator. So they extended it for her. And that expiration of the extension ended on April 30th. The American Patriot Rally was specifically organized to happen at the state capitol on April 30th as the Senate was in session to vote on the extension of the state of emergency declaration. If they were to extend that, she gets to keep all of her executive order powers, all of her special emergency powers, and basically makes her a dictator. We were there with a very specific message that we wanted to encourage and support that the Senate do not extend that state of emergency declaration and strip her of her powers to issue additional executive orders and to issue additional stay-at-home measures. It was a huge success because while we were there, the Senate elected to not extend the state of emergency declaration. So our very specific message that people got behind and showed up by the thousands in the rain, in the heavy rain at the state capitol in support of this was a huge success. They did not extend the state of emergency declaration.
Now, this has certainly been portrayed a certain way in the media with men with big guns trying to break down the door of the Capitol building and all of that. I just wonder, like, so first of all, how many people do you think actually made it to this rally?
It's hard to tell for a few different reasons. Counting that many people as they're all moving around is tough. Facebook kept stripping our events offline. So we had thousands of people that were going or interested, and they kept removing it as hate speech. So thanks, fake book. We appreciate all your help. But I would say if I had to throw a number on it, the people that were on the lawn at any given time, I mean, we probably had 2,500, and there was many other that were driving around in the cars and honking and clogging up the streets as well.
Okay. And so how do you feel about how the rally has been portrayed in the media? What's your experience been there?
You want to throw in on that, Jason?
Yeah, I'd like to cover that one. I think it's exactly what we thought would happen first, but the reality is it wasn't what they said. Nobody stormed the Capitol. We all got our temperatures taken. We all walked in past the police who led us into the Capitol, which in Michigan has an open carry law on Capitol property. So nobody broke a law. I did see one image where it looked like a guy was screaming at the police. It's a pretty famous image now. And I've heard lots of stories about that. But if you look at that image very closely, he's not screaming at the police. He's screaming between them. They're standing in front of the door that leads to the hall where Congress was voting at that moment. We were all screaming because we wanted them to hear our message, vote no, which was the chant, vote no, vote no, vote no. And that was happening, and we got what we wanted. So no matter what the media says about it, we got what we wanted, haha media.
Well, and I think, Ryan, when we were speaking the other day, you told me that you had the complete support of law enforcement, and you actually coordinated with law enforcement in putting on this rally. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I'll try to keep it short because this might be a boring part, right? I did permit myself, or I did get a permit issued from the city of Lansing, and the law enforcement, city of Lansing police, helped us with traffic control, made sure the main thing I said to them was do not allow the hospital to be obstructed at all. That needs to be manned with law enforcement police officers so that it is unobstructed. We did get a permit issued by the state capitol building for us to be there. We met with law enforcement ahead of time before the rally, a few days before the rally. We met with law enforcement on the day of the rally. We worked with law enforcement the entire time. They were extremely cooperative with us. We let them know that we were not there to tell them how to do their job, to get involved with them doing their job. They helped us out in a few instances. They were very much in communication with us and with the militia guys, right? That's another big one too. We have pictures of the militia and the state police together, right?
I'm going to bring up a picture right now. How about that one?
Inside the state capitol building. So they were very cooperative. They were very good to work with. They issued zero warnings to anybody about anything. And it was great to work with them on this whole thing. They were very supportive of what we were doing.
Yeah. And let's talk about the militia, because I think one of the questions I've seen over and over and over again is why is it necessary to have these people there with massive guns? So give us some perspective on that.
You want to take that one, Jason, or you want me to?
Yeah. So we were there to defend exercise our First Amendment rights. And the Second Amendment was designed to protect the First Amendment. And everybody always tells the militia or tries to keep the militia off to the side or over in the shadows. So then CNN always gets a picture of a group of guys and they find the angriest way to portray them. So instead, what we said was, these guys are here to help us. Let's let them help us. So they did security, and they did a fantastic job. They took care of making sure that people were safe on and off from the stage. They made sure that the crowd was safe, that there was they did a fantastic job, and they were there for that reason by design.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, were you in contact with any of the elected representatives who are actually taking that vote, and what type of feedback did you receive from them?
We have been. We've spoke with several different elected representatives, and it's interesting enough. During the rally, there was a gentleman there. We had Sheriff David Clark was there, Brandon was there, so we had some bigger name speakers. But we also highlighted Michiganders that are struggling, and they were just regular people like you and I that were there to tell their story of how they're being affected. And one of those guys happens to know Mike Shirkey, which is the Senate Majority Leader. And this gentleman, the guy that was speaking there, just said, "Hey, I have Mike's number. I know Mike. He just texted me and said that we're going to stand up to Whitmer today." So I'm like, "Oh, you got to come over here to the microphone, right?" And he said, "Hey, Mike just texted me and said that they're going to stand up to Gretchen Whitmer today." And the crowd goes crazy. Yeah, 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 yeah. So, they knew that we were outside and we were there to support them. And that, our message was clear and their message back to us was clear. We're going to stand up to her.
Now you mentioned that this is her strategy, the executive orders that she's issued. This has had a pretty dramatic effect on the people in Michigan, right? And it's just two average guys in Michigan. How has this affected the community there?
So how has the rally affected the community, or the lockdown?
Great clarification. The lockdown.
Okay. So the lockdown has affected the community immensely. Obviously, anytime you take families and you can't send the kids to school, which you're used to sending the kids to school, and the kids are in a routine, that makes a difference. When you can't have go out to eat on date night with your wife, that's been something that's affected me personally. That's a habit we've done that week in and week out since we've been married, and now we have to figure out a way to do it on the deck in the backyard, or find some other way to do it, which is fine. But it does have it, like you mentioned earlier today, about having a mental effect on people. It's tough on people. I am out doing whatever I've been doing, and I'm not ashamed to say it. My wife, on the other hand, is at the house and hasn't had a chance to go on these dates or do these things that she gets out of the house to do, because places she would go aren't open. So it has a bigger effect on her, and the community also. Just the fact that people are scared and they continue to perpetuate this fear is very detrimental to the community. Ryan, anything?
Yeah, I would like to add a couple things to that. I think, just to start off with your fear comment there, yeah, fear puts people in a state internally that is not in a good way. And the continued perpetuation of fear by our governor and even people at the federal level, it's not a healthy thing to live your life in fear. Now, there was a study done by Pine Rest, which is a mental health institution here in West Michigan, very well established. They wrote an article recently saying that we're expecting a large rise in suicides, up to at least 32% in the next year. And they're already seeing a rise in suicides. My wife just got a text this morning from a friend of hers that works in a hospital, and they said that every shift they are seeing either a drug overdose, a domestic abuse, or some other sort of, how did she phrase it? I can't think. Something related to mental health that people are coming in on every shift now. So we're starting to see a rise, and like the solution is worse than the problem, because now we're having all of these different kind of side effects coming. So between that, I know families are struggling. I just got a text message from a guy this morning that said, "Look, I don't even have gas to go to work now if I want to. Like, I'm out of money. I need another paycheck." People can't access the unemployment benefits. People are having a hard time accessing the employment benefits as an employer to be able to pay your employees. People are being laid off. 25% of the state of Michigan is unemployed. 25%, guys. A quarter of the population, 25 million people.
Yeah.
Big
And
number.
And I just saw a study last night that said that calls to helplines have increased 891%. And I hear the same things you do from medical professionals, from mental health professionals, that they're seeing dramatic increases in suicide. They're seeing increases in self-harm. They're seeing increases in domestic violence. They're seeing increase. I mean, we've seen increases in murder suicides. It's scary, the mental health impact that this is having on people. But what I keep hearing from people who are pro maintaining these lockdowns is, oh, you just don't care if you kill grandma and all you really want is a haircut, and how dare you? How would you respond to those people?
You want to take that one, Jason?
Yeah, I would respond with what I've said since the beginning. Freedom comes over safety, first of all. It just has to, because without freedom, you have no safety. Secondly, nobody is out here saying, we do this during flu season. We do it every year as a natural part of life. We take care of our elderly. We take care of our weak. And we make sure that if I've got a job that puts me out around the population, or my kids are in school, I'm not going to see my elderly relative during the flu season. They're not gonna let me come and see them during the flu season. If I don't think about it, they're gonna go, wait a minute, I can't have you. You got kids in school and I'm very vulnerable to this. So we are big grown adults, and we can take the time and the thought to make our own decisions on this.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, anything to add?
That's a great explanation there, Jason. I guess just to kind of throw in there, like, it's sad for people to go to that. Oh, you guys, want to leave your house, you want to kill people. It's like, oh my gosh, like, that's really your argument? Like, that's all that you got? I mean, it's tough to kind of get through to somebody what it is that we're doing when they so oppose from the other direction. When they're blinded to see the fact that, maybe not everything is the surface like they say it is with the pandemic, like, oh, the models are this or that. And so you can't blame them, right? And I pray for them, and I hope that they can at some point understand the bigger picture of what it is we're doing and that what we're actually fighting for here.
All right. Well, folks, I have a long list of questions from you guys that have been sent in to me over the past day or so. And so I'm going to start posing some of those questions, but just want to say, like, if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and, consider it being a thumbs up to the American Patriot Rally, these guys standing up for their freedoms and all of our freedoms, frankly. All right. So the first question I want to ask is from David. And David asks, recap for which liberty, in your opinion, that was trampled on, that made you finally say enough is enough and give birth to this idea of the American Patriot Rally? What was your breaking point?
My breaking point came fairly early in all this. As soon as they started talking about locking people up and saying you can't go be within 6 feet of each other, and you can't leave your home unless you have some thing that they quoted essential as a reason. And then the real breaking point for me was, this was already after I had talked to Ryan and we had said, like, what do you think of this? The breaking point, I guess, was I went to the grocery store to do my curbside pickup. My wife orders it. I pick it up home on the way home. I get there and there's a 2-hour wait for my 5 o'clock appointment to get groceries. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So then I went down the street to the local hospital where it was supposedly overrun and there was supposed to be, this terrible, terrible thing going on, to see what's really going on. And I get there and there's an empty tent blowing in the wind, and the security guard goes, it's actually really slow here. And so that I videoed that, and I did that. And then I was chasing a ghost for a week and a half, people going, go here, it's busy there, you're going to see death and carnage when you go to this hospital. And so I did. And it's on my YouTube. I filmed all these hospitals and test sites and all of that stuff that was supposedly overrun, and it just wasn't. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not the guy who runs to that. I was trying to find the busy place and I couldn't. And I'm like, this is nonsense. We're all destroying the economy over something that just isn't what they're saying it is.
Ryan, how do you feel about that? What was your breaking point?
I'm not really the conspiracy theorist type either, where I'm always looking at, well, let's take a look at what somebody else's ulterior motive is and come up with this big thing. But when the federal government started to say that we're going to put billions of dollars towards COVID-19, that was my first reaction right there. And I even have some posts way back in the beginning of March, maybe April. I forget the timelines there. The beginning of April, I think, after the lockdowns had started, and just said that cases equal cash. I said, watch this. We're going to have the most number of cases anywhere in the world because the federal government is going to throw so much money at each one of these cases. And then when that started to happen, Jason and I talking a little bit more with the empty hospitals and just kind of connecting some dots and really searching for truth. And then you just start to see more and more of the overreach. And, here in Michigan, the governor made it so that we were limited with the number of people we could leave our house with and, what you could buy at what store. And you weren't allowed to ride motorboats and just some silly things that there's really no explanation for other than a power grab.
Yeah, you couldn't buy seeds at Walmart, or you could buy a TV at Walmart, but you couldn't buy a TV stand at Walmart, or like crazy things like that, right?
Yeah, crazy amounts of detail and crazy. Yeah, some of the things themselves were just insane. No motorboats, no seeds at Walmart or a big store, but you can buy seeds at a little store if they don't run out. But you can go to McDonald's. That was another thing too, is that the things they left open were the biggest. If there really was some major pandemic, those were the things that would spread it the most. They had liquor stores, McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts. You can have all these things. Those are quote unquote essential workers, but you can't have somebody do your landscaping or mow your lawn at one point was illegal. So
wow. And one of the things that really started getting me to pay attention to this, and like, I'm a liberal, right? I don't like, generally speaking, like I tend to lean to the left on these issues, but I saw a story that basically said that Gretchen was banning people from going to their own property. Like, you couldn't go to your second property. And I was like, what? I don't like that the government is stepping in and saying you can't go to property that you literally own.
Mm-hmm. That was a bizarre one too. And yeah, there's 100% truth there. You're not allowed to travel and go to a second property.
We went anyways, just so you know.
Yeah, right.
Probably not something you should admit live on YouTube, Jason. All right. So Jim asks, and you've kind of already answered this, but I want to just be very, very clear on this. Jim asks, what were your specific and attainable demands with putting on this rally?
Yeah, we did answer that, but we'll go ahead and recap that. So our message was very clear that we were there on April 30th for the American Patriot Rally to support and encourage that the Senate does not extend the state of emergency declaration in America or in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Now, Edwin follows up with this, and Gretchen has basically come out, and I will not give this woman the respect of calling her governor or any of these things because I just don't like whatever. But Gretchen has come out and said that you guys are essentially the worst of America. You're racist. There were swastikas and Confederate flags at the rally. How do you respond to that?
I'll take this first.
Go ahead.
The swastikas were on flags with her picture on them, by the way.
Yeah, I'll show it right here.
So,
yeah,
that's
there
where
she
the
is.
That's the only swastikas that were there. That is the only one.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Confederate flags there. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, it the media spins it, and if you take that and you say, oh, there was Confederate flags everywhere, well, they're going to take photos from other events at the Lansing Capitol that there might have been and put them up anyway, but there wasn't, and there was no swastikas, and it was a peaceful rally, and nobody was there to cause any trouble. There was one arrest made, and I'll tell you what it was. It's funny because at the rally they had the gridlock event 2 weeks prior. Mm-hmm. There was a guy there that was flipping everybody off, yelling F Trump, and he was the one guy who got arrested at the rally this last week. And he was kicking people as the police were taking him through the crowd to get him out of there. And he was actually taken to the police by one of the militia guys.
Wow, wow. And so like, and that was one of the things that was so striking to me in looking at photos of the rally. And I looked at one specifically on BuzzFeed where it was just like a sea of American flags. And at a lot of these rallies, you see like a lot of Trump stuff. You might see signs that are around like, you know, pro-life stuff. Like there's not like focused messaging, but it seems as though you all made a specific effort to have highly focused messaging for what you were trying to accomplish.
I'll take that one. Yeah, that is very true. Appreciate you pointing that out. We just mentioned the specific message of the rally. On top of that, when Jason and I were talking and putting this together, we decided that we don't want this to be a Republican rally. We don't want this to be a Donald Trump rally. We don't want this to be a Democrat rally or a libertarian rally or whatever, you know, you might classify it as. This is not about political parties. This was about opening up Michigan. This was about ending the state of emergency declaration. We had people there, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians. I don't even know what other parties might have been there, but we were all there together. And we encouraged people from the very get-go, bring your red, white, and blue, bring your American flags, bring your American hats. Let's flood the Capitol with the red, white, and blue, guys. This is for America. Bring your Michigan flag. This is for Michigan. And while there was a couple of Trump flags there and there was a couple of MAGA hats there, which is fine, you know, people, you know, are big supporters of Trump and that's their own thing. The overwhelming majority of people that showed up, it was American flags. You can even see that in the news stories they put out there. There's the red, white, and the blue out there. That was our thing, guys. This is for America, and this is for Michigan. It's not for the GOP, the Democrats, whatever else. It's not for Trump. We're not doing this rally for Donald Trump. We're doing this for American families, Michigan families.
Now, Diana and Shojuro asked pretty similar questions, and so I want to get your guys' perspective on this. So is it your position that, you know, I guess, no, I'm asking it in a different way. What sort of precautions do you think people should be taking? Because the virus is a real thing. The virus, it's a real thing. It does, you know, hurt people. You know, the death rate, the mortality rate is, we don't really know, but it seems to maybe be lower than what they're saying. But do you feel there are any appropriate precautions that people should be taking during this time?
You want to take that, Jason?
Sure. I do. I think that you take the same precautions you would take during a harsh flu season, or you should have took back when the H1N1 thing went through. But I think that that's a personal decision. That's what liberty is, right? I'm not saying if and we said this actually as we planned the event. We said this many times on live videos and different promotional videos. If you were someone who is high risk, or you would be in contact with someone who is high risk, please protest from the car or share the videos from home, and you can do your part that way. We don't want people to get sick or to have ill fate, but what we do want is freedom and people back to work and happiness allowed again in America.
Are there any parts of Gretchen's executive orders that you all agree with and support?
The one where it expired.
I'm with you.
Touche. So Patrice asked, she says, I heard the legislature is pushing back against Karen's power grab. Is it true? What measures are they taking, if any, and what progress has been made?
It's power grab. I love it. Yeah, that's a true statement. Just to kind of, you know, expand a little bit on, you know, how things played out. You know, we were successful with the legislators not extending it. However, Gretchen steps up on her little platform and says, forget the legislators. You know what? Dictator Whitmer says that we are going to extend the state of emergency with or without you guys, which is illegal. The same day of the rally, the House put together a vote that promised to take Gretchen Whitmer to court if she did not work with the legislators. So that's what's happening next. The House of Representatives here in Michigan has a lawsuit filed against Gretchen Whitmer and is going to take her to court to say that, hey, what you're doing is illegal. And gosh, I won't get into it now, but I've spoke with so many attorneys, elected officials, and really trying to put all these pieces together. And what she's doing is illegal. And it's just really sad to see that, you know, she's stepping in, trying to act like a dictator, unwilling to be cooperative. and just continuing to shove these unnecessary, unconstitutional regulations down Michiganders' throats.
Yeah, so let me ask you this, because I did a video, I think the other day, talking about how Gretchen is now saying that we should be providing free college tuition to all essential workers, and this is part of one of her big new initiatives, and maybe even using the CARES Act funding that should be going to struggling people, struggling families, to provide like free college tuition to essential workers. How do you guys feel about that?
So I'll answer first on this one. Obviously, I don't feel that that should be happening, but I think this whole thing has, in Michigan, if you've watched what her press conferences have been and what she's done, she's tried to turn a virus into a racist person, and she's tried to turn a virus into a person who doesn't like the poor or doesn't like the people who would be considered essential, which are working at McDonald's or Tim Hortons, that she wants to give free college to. That's about votes, and it's about nothing else, and it's gross, and it should never happen.
And that actually brings me to another question I got from both Pam and Tyler that says, your governor went on CNN and basically called you guys racist. And, we've talked about how there really weren't any swastikas other than the ones referencing her at the rally. But if you had a chance to respond to her to say, here's what we think about you calling us a racist, what would you say?
Can I take this too? Our keynote speaker, I don't know if anybody looked at him. Have you seen Sheriff Clark before?
I have not, but I've been told that I should talk to him.
He's an African American guy. So,
of course he is.
And Brandon, I mean, he's not exactly someone that would, people with swastikas would walk around and give hugs to either, which we did embrace Brandon for coming and embrace Sheriff Clark. So it's just nonsense.
And what they mean, guys, just so in case you don't know, Brandon Strzok from Walkaway was at their rally and he gave a great talk. And so when they say Brandon, that's who who they're referencing. Ryan, do you have any response to Gretchen calling you a racist?
I do. It's absolute nonsense. It's absolute garbage. She's upset that she was the one that was portrayed on that picture with the swastikas that we talked about, right? She's upset about this. We'll show it again here real quick. That's what she's mad about, and that's why she's aiming to pick on us about this whole thing. Look, I try not to, in my life, make things about race. There's people that are good people, and there's people that are bad people. They got all sorts of different colors of skin, right? I look at what this person feels in their heart, right? And that's the definition of the character of the person. Now, at that particular rally, let's talk about that. Let's bring, the races and ethnicities into it. Pick them all. I believe they were all represented there. I mean, we had people from Latino populations that were there, Black communities that were there, Asians that were there, whites that were there. So the rally itself had a diverse group of people. And you know what? We all had one thing in common. We weren't sitting there looking at the color of our skin. We were looking there waving the red, white, and blue, saying we are all Americans standing for the same thing. That's what we need to be talking about, not the color of their skin means this or means that or whatever they want to say. We were Americans standing together, and we didn't look at the color of our skin. And Gretchen Whitmer wants to play that card, and she wants to go there because, like what Jason said, it's about votes. She's trying to trick people into thinking and molding the thoughts of people into how they should portray this one group over here or whatever. We were standing as Americans, we were standing as Michiganders, and we didn't look at each other's color of skin.
All right, folks, if you have any questions for Ryan or Jason, please go ahead and chat them in. It is much easier for me to see them if it comes with a super chat, but I know that times are tight for a lot of people, and I really will do my best to try to pick out questions if you can't do a super chat, and I totally understand it. So Gretchen has she's said, nope, I'm not going to listen to the legislature. I'm going to do what I want to do. What's next for you?
Oh, man, stay on the edge of your seats, guys. Who knows? Who knows, right? We're talking about a lot of that stuff here. And Jason, you probably have a couple comments here too, but I will say this, there's a lot of people in Michigan that are electing to just go back to work, to just go back to normal, and do the things that you have to do. You cannot keep people locked up in their houses for months on end. You just can't do it. As the weather gets nice outside, I think there's a lot of people that are just starting to do their thing again. I see that coming as one, but there's a bigger picture there. And Jason, you want to take it on anything else here?
Yeah, that first. And I'll take it a step further. If you're sitting home waiting for somebody to give you permission to be free and you live in the United States of America, think that decision through and take the advice that I'm giving you without giving it to you right now. And then the other thing that I would say about that is there is stuff in the works for those of you who are going, oh no, she extended it to the 28th. Now what? She's going to extend. There's things in the works. This is not going to continue. And as soon as we have announcements on what those things are and when they're going to be happening, we'll let you know. But we're working hard still. We didn't give up after the last one.
Okay. Tyler also would like to know, what can those of us in free states do to support your efforts and your protests?
What does it mean, free states there?
Maybe those of us who don't live in democratic controlled states where the governor's acting like a dictator.
Okay.
I'm adding my own inference there.
Translation. Okay.
Well, hey, what an awesome thing, Tyler, right? You said Tyler?
Yep.
What an awesome thing for Tyler to ask. And that means a lot. I suppose there's a few different things that can be done. Continuing to share our message is important. Maybe you can find us on all the social media platforms, pretty active on Facebook, getting a little more active on Twitter here, but maybe following along with some of the things that we're doing and to kind of help, share the message of some of the stuff that we're doing up here. I think that would be one way to do it.
And maybe we could, where specifically can people find you guys? Because I know because Facebook kept deleting your page, I actually didn't know where to look to even get in contact with you guys. Where can people go if they want to get in touch with you?
So I'm super active on Facebook. Just Jason Howland, Howland. I'm on Twitter, same name. Action Closer on Instagram, but I that's mostly business. So if you really, Facebook is the place. I do have a business page that I've kind of used for this, but my personal profile, you can come on and I usually respond to messages or comments on my posts as much as I possibly can.
And Ryan, where can they find you?
My name for my personal page is Ryan, Ryan, middle initial D, last name Kelly, Kelley. Picture of me and Donald Trump is my profile picture. So pretty easy to recognize that it's me. I'm on Twitter as well, the Kelly Crew. I don't know if you have how that's spelled in a picture anywhere. So my family and I, we do a YouTube channel. So we have a YouTube channel, the Kelly Crew, and we make vlogs and stuff like that. That's our Twitter handle as well. So you can always find us there if you want to as well.
All right. Ralph asks, I'm going to paraphrase Ralph's question. I'm going to parlay it into my own. So if there are other groups in different states that are thinking about doing something like you all did, what advice would you give them?
I would say reach out to me. I'd love to help you.
Okay.
That would be my reaction too. If there's somewhere, I don't know, say Virginia, maybe California, where they're getting a little ridiculous with stuff, right? Or even somewhere else, right? Whether it's, our direct involvement and have an American Patriot Rally there, right? We need to be very careful on our messaging, right? I'm not trying to just pop up everywhere and just do these little like flash mob protests or anything like that. Like, that's not what I just want to be a regular American doing my thing. But, when your country calls and when there's a greater purpose, right? That's where maybe we can see if things align and we can be helpful in that. So maybe it is another American Patriot Rally somewhere. Maybe we can just kind of help talk through some of the stuff and the organizational structure, like how to put something like this together. You don't just show up and throw up, right? You have to have structure behind it and planning that goes into it. So maybe it's just a phone conversation. I mean, we're here to help Michigan families and the United States families across the country. And hey, if we can, play our role to make things better for people, we'd love to do that.
All right. Robert from the chat asks, how are rural sheriffs acting? Are they enforcing the more draconian measures?
No,
No.
No, they're not. People are going out on their boats and they're not getting arrested.
no. Sure. Yeah. Local sheriffs, state police, they're not enforcing this. I mean, if somebody's doing something and somebody calls and complains, maybe they show up and say, hey, do you mind, stop pounding the nails on the roof for the day or whatever, because Mrs. Johnson over here is throwing a fit or whatever. But they're not issuing citation tickets here in Michigan, that from what I've seen. So
Yeah. And just to be clear, YouTube overlords, we are not encouraging people to break the law. People should follow the law. We are not encouraging that, okay?
45 and a 45, baby. Let them have PH over.
Oh, looks like we may have lost Jason or something's going on over there. We hope he comes back. So oh, there he is. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you, Jason. There you are. So Matthew in the chat asks, do you think that Gretchen is going to get reelected?
Well, let's just come up with a new name for her. How about Gretchen Lame Duck Whitmer? That can be her name for the next 2 years. One of the things I said in my speech, I started the American Patriot Rally off, and there was a newspaper article talking about the growing food pantry lines. And part of what I said there at the beginning, that Gretchen's legacy is going to be unemployment, hungry families, and economic despair. And really, that's what she's turned Michigan into. Elections have consequences, and you look at some of the states around the country, like South Dakota, for example, that never had a shutdown. I get it, there's a smaller population, and it's not always apples to apples, but it was handled much differently. And things were thought about much differently. We have counties here in Michigan where there's 0 cases of COVID-19, and there's 0 deaths in many, many places. And it's this one size fits all, shut down everything. Your kids can't go to school. So while leadership is always difficult, she has a F in leadership. She has failed the state, and her legacy is going to be riddled with economic despair and high unemployment numbers.
Now, let me ask you this, because my understanding was she basically campaigned on the slogan of "Fix the damn roads." Has she fixed the damn roads, or has she kind of broken that promise?
The roads in Michigan are ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous. So I didn't know that was her campaign thing, but she's failed in that regard too.
All right. Asperger's Adulthood, thank you for the super chat, asks, is Whitmer following orders from above her? I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I think she's auditioning to be Joe Biden's VP. What do you guys think?
I think she's a puppet. She's not smart enough to do all this on her own, but it doesn't, they're not going to pick her anyway. They're going to pick somebody else, in my opinion, but it really doesn't matter whether she was ever a losing vice presidential candidate or not. I think she's definitely auditioning, trying to make a name for herself, but I think she's making the wrong name.
Ryan, do you agree?
So the question was that, is she, kind of looking at some of the federal, maybe superiors. I know she's the head of our state, right? And I know you mentioned earlier, don't want to call her governor, but at the end of the day, right, she is the governor of Michigan. And I know that the Attorney General for the U.S., William Barr, issued a statement to assign state prosecutors to look into the overreach of government and, what constitutional rights at a personal level are being infringed upon, because he made a very clear statement that, yes, we have a pandemic. No, that does not put the Constitution on the back burner and take away people's constitutional rights. So, I think she's getting a lot of backlash. I think that she is starting to backpedal on some of the things that she said even. And hopefully that pressure continues. I know we're going to keep the pressure on if we're called to do that, right? Stay on the edge of your seat. You never know what we're going to do next, right? But it's going to be good. Guarantee that.
So M. Gentles asks in the chat, is there a movement to recall Gretchen?
There is. I'll make a comment on that. A lot of people reached out to me on that and said, "Hey, let's impeach Gretchen Whitmer. You know, we have the House, we have the Senate. Let's get her out of there." And while I understand where people are coming from on that, there is I do believe in having laws. I do believe in having structure with things, right? If we were to impeach Gretchen Whitmer, like, who takes the spot of that? If that person were to get impeached, who takes the spot of that? So if you look at the list of people that would step into her shoes after that, I look at it and say, you know what? You're trading apples for apples. You're going to get the same thing, right? The fight's going to continue. So I don't look at impeaching her as the right answer. I look at going other avenues and keeping her in that lame duck status, and then just putting the pressure on for the 2020 governor race here in Michigan to get her out of that seat.
If only the Democrats in the House had done the same thing with Trump and had that common sense. Jason, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't have really much to add to that.
All right. Kiki Amar in the chat asks, are you guys taking donations to support your movement? Is there a way that people can support what you're trying to do financially, and how so?
A lot of people have asked me that, and you hate to turn down funds, but we really don't have here, contribute money to this organization or over here or whatever. A lot of people have asked us, like, what's you guys' organization? And, we say, hey, why don't you go Google We the People, and do all the research that you would like on that. I mean, this is really about, us standing up as just regular people here, making a difference. I will say that rally did cost money. If somebody would like to contribute funds, we'd be happy to take them, and we would put them to good use for, whatever it is we might do in the future. And it greatly humbles me that people have asked if they can financially contribute to what we're doing. That means a lot.
Yeah, one of the easiest things might be to set up a PayPal account where people can easily send you donations, and I'm sure you'll get a ton of support.
Yeah, you can send it to my wife's PayPal if you want, Tabitha@thekellycrew.com.
All right.
Put it in the chat or something or whatever. We'd be happy to put it to good use for the American Patriot Rally.
We'll definitely make sure that ends up in the description below. Let's see. I'm looking in the chat to see if there are any more questions. So I guess I don't see any more questions that haven't been covered already, but I guess Ryan, and maybe Jason, if he comes back, do you have any kind of final thoughts that you'd like to offer, or anything that we haven't touched on yet that you want to make sure people understand your position on?
I think we've covered a lot of it. Is there anything else that we might have missed? We talked about the purpose of the rally. We talked about the involvement with, the state police, who are extremely cooperative, the red, white, and blue flags. I don't really think so. I mean, this is not about us. One of the comments that I get hate messages all the time. Good God, people want me to die. They want my family to die. They hope everybody I know dies. Carlin, they probably want you to die now.
I'm sure they do.
Right?
Yeah.
Why wish that on people? Why wish COVID-19 on people? I hope you get the virus. Like, really? You're really wishing that on people? Like, come on, guys. Like, we can do better than this, right? Be nice. Just because somebody thinks differently doesn't mean that you need to wish death on them. But I would say, gosh, now I got off on a tangent. Where was I going with that, right? A lot of these messages have been emotional. I get it. People, are lashing out. But I don't know. I try to think where I was going. Jason, you got any comments on that?
Yeah, my final thought, I guess, would be that, we have to, you were exactly right. Like, there's no reason to threaten death to anyone. We haven't done that. We won't do that, and it shouldn't be done. But on top of that, I think remembering that freedom is more important. Freedom, just whatever you're talking about, there's only, like, in my life, one thing over freedom, but freedom is the most important thing. And without it, we're not safe. So no matter how much you hide in your house and let your freedoms and liberties be taken away, you're making yourself less safe down the road by doing that. Because whether this COVID-19 is some kind of way that they're going to take power away, now they know they can do it unless you stand up. And that's important. So that's what I got.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's a really fair point. And Jason, I don't want you to be careful while you're driving down the road, live stream and driving at the same time. Ryan, what were you going to add just then?
Yeah, I remember what I was going to say. A lot of these messages are telling me how selfish I am. And it's what I'm doing is so far from about me, right? I'm blessed, right? We have food at my house, right? I am able to, very creatively continue to sell real estate, but I'm not doing this for Ryan Kelly. I got a phone call from a doctor telling me how selfish I was, and I'm trying to get my 15 minutes of fame and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, this is not about me, right? This is about standing up for people that are struggling much more than I am. I got text messages from people that they don't have gas to get to where they want to go, right? Do you have food? If not, I'll bring food over. So, this is not about Jason and I. This is about standing up for many, many families to open up Michigan and get people's lives back for them.
Well, I just want to thank you for what you're doing, and having been on the receiving end of some of the hate and nastiness and yes, death threats from the left myself. I know that it's not a fun thing to go through, and but what you're doing is so important. And I think that last note of, it's not about you. This is not about you. This is about standing up for values that you believe in. That's the higher purpose of all of this, and really helping out people in your communities, making sure that your freedoms are not infringed upon. And so a big thank you from me, and I think from everyone in the chat as well, for what you're doing. And I really can't wait to see what you guys do next. So if you want to pop back in and do another stream to talk about your next steps, you let me know anytime, man.
Love it. Will do, for sure. Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy.
Yeah, thank you.